1 month ago today, I posted a video talking about why adapting Steel Ball Run would be one of the hardest things David Production has ever attempted. From the horses to the western landscapes, to what might happen if Netflix picked it up again. Well, I guess I got one prediction right. This is everything you missed in the trailer for Part 7 Steel Ball Run. The trailer starts out with Steven Steele declaring that the Steel Ball Run race starts today. But this is actually different dialogue to the manga, as I'll get into later. Then zooming out to a crowd shot. This location is actually based on a real life place, Hotel Del Coronado in San Diego, and it's almost 1-to-1. There's a lot to see here. The hot air balloons we'll see later in the manga, these flags at the bottom, which I thought they were country flags at first, as that kind of looks like the Argentina flag, but comparing them I think they're supposed to be these like nondescript flags. I mean, these two have the Steel Ball Run logo, so they're probably not real world flags. But next to them are the people in the crowd. They're more looking like they're kitted out in smart European-inspired attire, similar to what we saw inside of the press conference building in the manga. As yes, a couple things are missing from this trailer, notably the giant block of ice. So due to the lack of it in the frame, I'll explain because it's probably going to be cut from the anime. Basically, in this scene, Steven, the guy who's running the race, says,
"This ice came from a place called the South Pole. We opened a hole in this ice and placed the championship trophy inside."
Which might give us some insight that they're cutting things already, as that whole bit at the start in the conference hall might be cut, or at least cut down a lot.
Well, I think those comments broke the ice.
In between these animated segments, we get a glimpse at some of the graphic design work that might make up Steel Ball Run's look, and it seems to be going for this grungy stencil motif. The text shown is similar to Sumigari's text he put in the promotional piece, and it's pretty close to the font that's used on the SBR English covers. Right after that, we get the man himself, the racer from Italy, Gyro. We see a close-up shot of him unbuckling his steel ball, but if you notice, and this is something you don't see in the key art, his nails are actually blue. It makes me wonder what that would actually look like on his full art on screen, as his nails are kind of obscured in the next shot here, in which we get this really great palette shift. And I think this is where the anime is at its best, almost harkening back to Part 3. And if you notice in the background here, they're not doing that grey blob thing on the background characters as seen in Part 6. And looking at it here, it might not be a direct reference, but it's very similar to the colors of this cover from the manga. Now this is juxtaposed with Johnny in the more natural lighting, and the colors in this scene, I don't know. What's the consensus on these brighter colors? I've seen a couple people complain about this, and I think something that's missing from the anime at the minute is good lighting and compositing. I know some shows end up overdoing it with the effects. I think it would really help to cover up the CG, as we'll get into later. But in the background here, we can see some cowboys and the two sheriffs, which have both now been sort of turned into SBR officials. Again, I don't know if these are the same two from the manga, but they look pretty solid. Now, after looking at these clips, I don't think they're in order, but we have this cool looking gyro here, which the color palette here looks to be inspired of that scene in Eyes of Heaven. Next, in an oddly over-animated Sakura shot, Johnny claims he'll join the race and ride a horse again. Breaking down each frame here, it looks a bit messy, but I'm glad they're putting some effort into these first bits. As if you don't know, this is what Johnny looked like in his first appearance in the manga, so a huge improvement. And we actually get to see a lot of frames of Johnny, as the animators seem to be having a lot of fun animating him. I've mentioned this in the past, but this part has a lot of movement to it, so it's great to see that come across in the animation, and they're really nailing the details the characters are drawn with, especially when he flips upside down like this. It looks fantastic. And here with this shot, again, I think this is out of order, because I think this comes before throwing the steel ball, but this shot really backs up my claim about the lighting and compositing, as this stylized lighting here looks amazing, and is exactly how I pictured Steel Ball Run to look in anime form. And then here we have it, the iconic Gyro grin. I've done my take on this, I know Monkey's done his take, I've seen Hachura do one recently, so it's nice to finally see David Production's version, and clearly all the budget went into Gyro's teeth here. And those that don't know about Gyro as a character may be confused between his goofy and serious side here, but all in all is a complex character I won't even begin to explain here. And speaking of complex characters, the next shot is of Diego Brando. And his hair looks really cool here. The animation here is a bit point A to point B, but it kind of makes sense, as if we look at the full character sheet, he retains those crosshatch details to his design. And as I mentioned in the video about Steel Ball Run's animation, those are a nightmare to deal with. So expect a lot of these close-up shots of Dio because of that fact. But he does look pretty good here, but that's kind of only when he's in 2D. Yeah, so I guess we'll cut to what everyone's talking about, the use of 3D. Now you might have missed this, but not only the horse is 3D, but the riders are too. Well, sometimes. So I'll skip ahead here clear to the next shots that involve these horses. But if you look, the horses are 3D, but in these close-up shots, it's kind of hard to tell if it's 2D or 3D. It more comes down to these long shots, which is making like everyone confused whether it's CGI or not. Interestingly, it seems David Production is using a similar technique to Baki, where the shading is directly baked into the 3D models. Supposedly, this gives them a less jarring and more integrated look within the 2D environment. So I think that's why people have been so confused about it, which is like really cool to see that they're like taking the effort to blend the two like this. And looking to Baki, if we pause it, the style almost looks 2D in its still frames. So it would make sense to use this during the fast-paced parts of the race like they seem to be doing. But because of that, I would lean heavily into these post-processing effects if they're going to go down this route, as smoke, speed lines, motion blur, all that can help out in that aspect. But getting back to the breakdown, in between those horse shots, we got our first look at Lucy Steele. And if we take a look at her full character design sheet, she looks really close to Araki's original design for her. If you've not read the manga, Lucy plays a bigger role later, and because of that, she takes on a more fleshed out design. But if you compare that design to the new anime one, they look very different, and how she's rendered here is very simple compared to Johnny and Gyro, which does work quite well for the beginning chapters. But if you have read the manga, it might not work as well. This being due to some of the situations she finds herself in. But in this scene, she's just basically comforting her husband. As shown in the next scene, he has a racing event to run. And I guess we'll talk about Steven's full design here too, as they're going for this classic greeny yellow look. If you watch the free cam video I made, you'll see that the game used a completely different color palette, but this one works really well. And I totally forgot about this, but I'll throw it in. Here's my design of him from the old trailer. Kind of looks like a similar palette too, but overall I think he's got a solid design here. But on the map behind him, we can see the start of the race being San Diego, California, going through Arizona, Canyon City in Colorado, Kansas City, Chicago, Michigan, and even the Trinity Church is here in New York. And I mentioned this at the start, but this actually could be the conference hall, but it could also be sat on that stage out in the open, as it's hard to tell if it's in the world or David Production is using a stylized shot for when Steven explains the route of the race, similar to stuff they've done in the past. And the last thing we have is the trailer ending with a shot of Johnny chasing after Gyro and Diego. And I think here is the best example of just how different these designs look from the early parts of the manga. I've seen people online try and fix them, but at the minute, I would say, let them cook. And let's see what David Production's full vision is for the series, as we can only really judge it until it's fully out. But who even makes up David Production nowadays? Like, who's working on the anime? As after 12 years, it's not all the same people that are working on part 1. I talked about these people in my last Steel Ball Run video, but to go a bit more in depth, we have the directors, Takahashi-san and Kimura-san, designer, Sumagari-san, Yasuko Kobayashi, who I've neglected to mention is head of the script team, and she's worked on every part so far, adding these little touches of polish and personality. But one name you'll see in English is Grand Gorilla, or as we like to call him, Monkey. Now, you've probably already seen his work before, or his work in other shows, but you may not know that he got his start doing fan art and even fixed one of my own fan animations. And while we're not really working on it anymore, we still talk in the Steel Ball Run trailer chat. And with us all living in European time zones, we all got to watch the trailer at the same time. And it was so cool to see his name in the credits. So well done, Monkey. Now, as I mentioned, there was a live stream that went along with the trailer. And before it, there was a full lineup of ads. And when me and Val saw this, well, just listen.
Last Survivor's coming to PS6?
Oh, why would they tease us like this? I was so down to play Last Survivors on PC. During the live stream, a piece of music started playing, and the chat and myself thought we were getting a sneak peek at one of the pieces of music from the anime. But false alarm, because after tracking it down, it was just royalty-free music. It kind of slaps though, but we did get an actual piece of music that went along with that very trailer. It's not going to sound great because we don't have the raw track yet, but take a listen. Sort of going for that part 5 and 6 motif, with the song saying the name of the part within it. And I reckon this is going to be the main theme of the anime, as it's Yugo Kano returning as his role as composer, as he's been doing it for a while now. But part 3 and 5 are often seen as his strongest. And I hope he brings the same level of energy, as well as some fresh experimental stuff for part 7 soundtrack. But then the stream went silent.
Add like information about this shit.
It's on. And the curtains opened up to reveal who will be voicing the Steel Ball Run characters. Shogo Sakata, known for his roles on Pokemon and Chainsaw Man, he'll be voicing Johnny, and voicing Gyro is Yohei Zakami, that can be seen in Dr. Stone and Gundam. Kaito Ishikawa playing Diego, that can be heard in Haikyuu and One Punch Man.
That's a cool shirt. It looks like he's been slashed across the chest.
And we have Rei Takahashi, who's worked on Rent a Girlfriend, and ReZero, who will be playing Lucy Steele. And finally Kenta Miyake playing Steven Steele from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood Brotherhood and My Hero fame. And if you didn't notice, he plays Avdol too. And here they all are next to their stands, which they all look great. Do you think I could get one of those though? And I had to actually put this in as well because the person doing the translations was on the ball and actually said the weird censorship names rather than the actual original ones.
I would like to use Moody Jazz.
Even they actually called it Moody. What?
But the question is, when is it coming out? Well, keep your eyes peeled for a proper date, but at the end of the event, it said 2026. And yes, it's Netflix exclusive. So it's probably gonna be batches again. I'm assuming the full release date will go along with a longer trailer. But my question to you is, what's the ending theme gonna be? But if you'd like to know more about how the anime production might go, you can check this video out here.